Hey, everyone. Thanks for joining us for the first of our series of live interactive seminars for the Forest City Youth Film Festival. I'm Dorothy Downs. I'm the Executive Director of the Forest City Film Festival. And over the next few weeks, you'll find me here talking with various experts and film people, filmmakers about all the various parts of filmmaking. So it'll be every Wednesday at 3 o'clock. So come here every week with your questions and invite your friends, and let's all learn a bit more about filmmaking. So today I'd like to introduce to you guys the director of the Youth Film Festival here at Forest City. And she's going to tell you a little bit more about the Youth Film Festival and what we also have in store for you today. So Laura Briscoe is joining us from her home, and she is practicing physical distancing. So, hey, Laura.
Hi, Dorothy. Thank you. I'm excited to be here, and thanks everyone tuning in. I'm going to start with telling you a little bit about the Youth Film Festival. This is our second year running, and students can still submit their films until June 25th this year. And it's open to anyone in high school across Southwestern Ontario. So pretty much everything south of the GTA, from Windsor to Owen Sound to Hamilton. If you are a high school student from grade 9 to Victory Lappers, that is you, and you can submit your films. There is money involved. So that's another reason, besides the inspiration of sharing your stories. First place winners get $300. Second place winners get $200. And the top best overall films get $500. And that leads me into introducing a very talented filmmaker who this year won the best overall film of festival. It was a beautiful film called Melatonin. We're going to be showing it. And just before I show it, I want to introduce you to this talented filmmaker. Her name is Queena, and she is here with us, physical distancing as well. And just to introduce you, here is Queena.
Hi guys, thanks Laura and thanks Dorothy for introducing me. I'm Queena Liu. I'm from London here. I am at HBBL right now in my final year in grade 12, and you're gonna see one of my films from last year. This is a really fun project for me that I did with my best friend and her family. So yeah, this is Melatonin.
Take her away on a landslide on the slate of her defense. Drink melatonin, melancholic, toxic wasteland in her bed. On shore, she's washed up in your dreams, buried in floral seams, waiting for you to arrive with a matchstick heaven.
Thank you, Queena, for sharing that with us here. And I just wanted to say now we're opening up to Q&A, which means people can ask us questions live online, type them to us, and Dorothy's going to be reading those questions for us. And just to get things started, where did you come up with the idea for this film, Queena?
So it started with the music itself, which I wrote. So just like on a random morning, I went down to the piano, just hammered it out. So I don't know. I was in a band at that point. So I was with Pop Rom, which included Lucy, the singer, and also the actress in the film, and her brother Jesse. So the three of us recorded that song together when we were in a band.
That's absolutely amazing. We do allow submissions where people are using copyright-free music, but the fact that you were able to produce that yourself really, really blew the entire panel away. So
yeah, it was exceptional. It's very lovely. The editing is lovely. The shots were beautiful. It was very well thought out, put together, very creatively and skillfully.
Thank you. Thank you. From my end, it was more just like feeling it out. I didn't really have a plan for it, really, for the film itself. I just wanted to create something to go along with the music.
So the process started with the music and you wrote that. And then when you were coming up with the ideas for visuals, how did you make those decisions?
So for the song itself, like the lyrics are kind of ambiguous. You can kind of hear from that. Originally, it was sort of like a love song, but I decided to not go that route and just do something more personal that I could relate to myself. So I chose to portray a bit of like a dysfunctional relationship between a daughter and her mother. And I know Lucy and her mom really well. They've helped me along a lot these years. So I wanted to include both of them in the filmmaking process as well.
Well, you two as a partnership did an outstanding job. And I think that you just raised a really good important point, is that when you create films that are personal and that you can connect with, it adds another layer and makes the message that much stronger and deeper and more meaningful than trying to create a video that you don't really have a connection with. So I think that's a really good choice when you said that you decided to make it more personal. And it, like, the feeling can come through a lot stronger because you did that.
For sure.
Good job with that.
We've got a question. We've got a question coming in from our live audience, and this is from Five Star Idiot Productions, which is a local filmmaker who was also in the festival last year. And
shout out.
Yeah, exactly. He did some amazing work, but he is wondering how long the pre-production, the production phase, and the post-production phase each took on this film.
Okay, let me try to remember. The song we did, it was the summer before grade 11. So that would have been like the summer before this film festival took place. That took about a week and a half of like all together recording, mixing. I take my mixes really seriously. It's just a 2-minute song, but it took a week and a half. And then later on,
that's very evident. You took the time to really, you worked on it to get it as perfect as possible. So
yeah, and then that just sort of sat there. We didn't release it as a band or anything, so we didn't do anything with it for a few months until after the film. And the filmmaking itself took another week, I would say, of shooting and editing.
How many hours do you think it was for the shooting itself?
Shooting was done in basically one day. There were a few shots that I took from previous projects, so that sort of filled in the time, but most of it was done just in one day. Wow. It took probably 4 or 5 hours, I would say.
Yeah. So, and then tell us the editing process. What software did you use to put that together?
I used Premiere Pro. Would recommend getting a pro software, even if it's just a free trial. That's what I did. I didn't pay for the whole thing. Not yet. I will probably soon. But even if you're just doing a free trial, that gives you a week. And for me, at least, I found that was enough time to do all my projects. I just kept renewing the trials.
And there are a lot of great, and that's something that you're very passionate, and that you're focusing and developing further into film. but we also try to stress that for people that don't have the top of the line of equipment, that is okay, and that this is a learning process. So don't feel it. Like, I love the idea of the free trial, but there's also free editing software out there for people that are continuing and maybe can't get that software at this time. So we're not judging the technical tools necessarily that you're using, but oftentimes the stories that you're telling and the imagery that you are using to help convey it.
Yeah, for sure. So before even that, like I would just do stuff on my phone or iPad, use like iMovie. I'm not sure if it's free, but it's definitely cheap.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you have an Apple computer, that's standard.
Perfect. Yeah.
You were really drawn to the creative arts category, and now we're calling it experimental film, but creative arts can really add that visual effects and emotion. And you had other films in the festival as well. So we're curious, what drew you to that category specifically?
Filmmaking for me, like it's sort of an extension of art making for me. So I've always seen art and music just as something for me to express myself in. So the creative arts or the creative arts category, it's like it gives you just a vehicle to just do whatever you want. And I really like that flexibility and freedom of really just expressing an emotion, or not. If you don't have like a specific story in mind, you can still, give out your voice and say something without really saying something.
That's a really good answer for especially as a visual arts teacher and the visual artists out there that are trying to think about a vehicle or a way to explore technology and media arts without necessarily having to develop a script and a narrative, but just something you might even see projected on a gallery wall, or it's really, because it's experimental, it's probably one of the most flexible categories that we have. And you really did it justice. We didn't know when we first initially offered that as a category what was going to come of it. And your film made us so excited and proud that we made that a category.
Awesome.
And now I also want to point out that this particular film, it kind of can play in two different categories. And we have a new music video category, a youth music video category at the main festival. And I want to point that out to you and everybody else that's here, that just means that 50% of the team has to be currently enrolled in secondary or post-secondary school for the music video category for the main festival. But we don't have a music video category in the youth festival, but we do have the experimental category, and this fit in beautifully into that. But while we're talking about the music, I've actually got another question from Great Lakes Dance. What equipment did you use to shoot the film, and what programs? Oh, I'm sorry. First of all, we had from UE, what programs did you use for creating the song? So they were curious about the music and how you created that.
I did the music production through a program called Cubase, sort of an older program, but it's still used by some professionals. So you would probably, it's probably more common to see like Pro Tools or, basically Pro Tools. But so I had Cubase, and that was because in my, at high school, we have an awesome class run by an awesome teacher, Mr. Parr, shout out. He runs a recording class. So we learned Cubase through that class. So with my band, we got Cubase because of that, and that's what we did our recordings on.
Good to know. Now let's talk about the equipment for like the camera equipment.
Yeah. Also for the recording, like we went to like Kijiji. That's where I get all my gear, honestly. Like Kijiji, that we get secondhand microphones, secondhand cameras. So that's everything that was shot on just secondhand stuff. So we got it at like a discount. And my film was shot on a DSLR, so I used the Nikon D7000. If you're interested, I don't know, use anything.
I think people they want to know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I used that, and that was great because, like, you get that the focal length. So I think that's really important. Like, just the wide shots, or if you're using a prime lens, like you get that really shallow depth of field. Like it just looks crisp. It looks nice. So invest in your lenses.
Excellent. So there's a question also from Aveen Ismail, who is wondering if people are allowed to include background music in the films. And yes, the answer is absolutely. However, you have to either use have to use royalty-free music, or you have to create your own music like Queena did here. So the royalty-free music, if you Google it, royalty-free is it's not expensive, but you do have to pay for it. You can also access music that is out of copyright. So it's completely copyright free. And that's music that's over I think it's 50 years old. And so that music is completely free to use also.
Yeah, if I can
on our website, some resources.
Queena.
If I can just jump in, this is something some of my classmates did last year. They went to SoundCloud. They contacted some of the independent artists and asked if they could use their music. So if you can do that, that definitely gives you like a lot more range to use songs that fit your actual film.
That's such a great idea. And for student filmmakers, there's so many people who want to help. And so it's not hard to find people who will say yes to that kind of request. So that's a really good.
Just while we're talking about Queena's, you focus on the creative arts, and for people to know if they're uncertain of which category their film fits in best, we did have people submit their films to more than one category, and that is okay. We have different judges for different categories. We will try and pick where it fits the best. But just to introduce those other categories to you, we also have narrative and documentary. Now, those can be 2 to 5 minutes long. And in addition to the creative arts category that we mentioned, the pitch category is pretty unique. There's no judgment on your technical skill or ability, but your idea. If you could create a film, what would it be about? And you're just filming yourself telling us what that film would be. And so that's more if maybe you're in theater arts or creative writing and you don't have a chance to actually create the film, but you want to tell us your story, that's great for the pitch category. And as well as we have animation. And so more information is on our website if you want to read about the categories and see visual samples. There's some videos that are posted there as well.
And we're going to be doing seminars over the next 5 weeks that pertain to a lot of these categories. So be sure to come back every week and check out what they all are. I've got another question once again, from 5 Star Idiot Productions. And so he's asking, was there a script that went along with the film, or was it just sort of mapped out as you went along? You got the imagery and then you fit the imagery into the music?
Yep, there was no script. I am not that great at planning stuff, which mostly, like, especially for creative arts stuff, it comes down to feel, at least for me. So I had the music, and that was sort of all that I needed to cut to. So I use that as my basis for everything.
So you got all the shots, and then you put them all together creatively once you saw what you had.
Yeah, basically. Like, I had a vague idea, at least just to get like what shots I wanted. Like, I could sort of see visually in my head what I wanted, but like deciding what shots go next to which shots and what vague storyline I wanted to create out of those shots, that was all done in the editing process, which is why I like editing so much, because you can create so much from that.
Yeah, editing is a wonderful process. I completely agree. I have got one from your teacher, from Mrs. Booth. Miss Booth. Hello, Queena. This is Miss Booth. Congratulations again, and that I am so proud of you. Do you think the Youth Film Festival submission should be a school assignment to motivate more students to submit?
Yes, I think it should be. Yeah, Miss Booth, you were awesome in getting all our classmates to do something. Pretty much everyone made a film in my class, in my art class, and a lot of them were like super cool. I loved watching all of them. So I'm not sure if I would have cranked out 3 of them last year if it weren't for Miss Booth pushing me along and giving me those assignments to do. It's like I said, well, I mentioned before, I was procrastinator to you too. So having a deadline definitely helps someone like me to actually get stuff done.
So here's part 2 of that question. What advice or motivation would you give to students who are kind of on the fence about submitting a film?
if you have one, definitely submit it. There's nothing stopping you from just submitting
What
it.
about if you just have an idea in your head?
I mean, I guess you just have to want to do it. Like, if you want to do it, again, there's nothing stopping you. So for me, it was just a matter of picking up the camera and just getting along with some friends and saying like, hey, can I borrow you for a day? And they said yes. So we just did it.
And going back to mixed booth questions, it's fantastic if it's possible to incorporate this into curriculum for teachers. But there's so many students that might not be in a class where it's an assignment. What would you say to students that don't necessarily have this as an assignment? Is it worth the extra time and effort and work to enter the festival?
Yeah, definitely. Like the song itself, that wasn't for a school assignment. I just wanted to do it. So like you can sort of see this as an assignment if you want. There's a deadline for the submission. You can use that to motivate yourself. And once, like, even if you don't get into it or if you don't submit it to the film festival, like for sure, put your stuff out there, like put it on your social media, share it through the community that way, at least, even if you don't get in. I think it's so important for youth, especially young filmmakers, to just share their work.
One of the highlights for me, now when you say about sharing their work, is the community that we're starting to create, where students that might be in different schools didn't know each other, and now they're connecting and collaborating and supporting each other. So that is something where we're kind of popping out of these isolated silos of buildings. And are you working with anybody who's outside of Beale that you met through the festival?
Mm-hmm. Funny you should ask that.
Okay.
So 5 Stars Idiot Production, their guy behind it, Ethan Hickey, I've worked with him a couple of times making just like film posters for him. You know, he's done a few bigger projects lately. He's at Western now, so.
Yeah. And he was another one of the rock stars in the youth festival that really showed his dedication and stood out. So it's just exciting seeing people that have a common interest and opportunity for you guys to connect and work together. Mm-hmm. Dorothy, do we want to go to another online question?
Yeah, we do. We've got another good online question. So Aiden Plays Games asks, when inspiration is waning, when you feel creatively sapped, what do you do? Because you submitted 3 films last year, so there was no lack of creativity for you. How do you stay fresh? How do you get motivated?
Oh man, good question. For me, I sort of bounce around different things to do. So if I'm not feeling music right now, I won't do music. I'll do some art. If I'm not feeling art, then I'll go back to music. Just sort of keep finding things to keep your mind like engaged. And even if you're not like fulfilling your one dream currently, you can still do stuff to be creative in different ways. You know, there's not only one way to be creative. You can do that by writing an essay, or you know what I'm trying to say. Like there's just so many things for you to do that I would say, like, find ways to diversify yourself and also look at inspiration for yourself. So look at different films or read different books or listen to different music and sort of delve into what other creators are doing and how they got to that point in their lives or their careers.
That's a great answer. And I think that students often put pressure on themselves to create the best thing the first time. And the hardest part sometimes is the starting point of what do I create and what do I do? And that pressure of making that decision sometimes slows the whole process down. One of the favorite things I like to do is put on a timer. So I have 1 minute to come up with an idea for this, and then it goes and you just throw whatever is out there. And eventually, if you keep doing that, things can come up that you didn't expect, just so you don't overthink yourself. And I think your creative outlets, like going into all these different medias, from like looking up people and reading books and going outside and just trying to like refresh your lens. Sounds like you are a creative person.
That sounds great. We've had a couple of people actually now ask what route you're planning for your post-secondary education.
I am planning on going to Ryerson for film maybe media production. I'm still waiting on that, but probably film, I think. So I got accepted there.
Ooh,
Yeah.
congratulations, Ryerson.
Thank
is so
you.
lucky to have
I'm excited.
That's an excellent school. And a really, really good path. You know, I clearly you have an affinity and a good eye and a good instinct. So
Thank you.
well done.
Something else that people were curious about was, with all this talent, what was your biggest challenge in putting Melatonin together?
So I guess I was kind of hindered by my filmmaking year. So I love just watching like really cool cinematic shots and movies and stuff. And you see all these like sweeping shots of like them on tracks and stuff. Just all those like high grade movies. I love seeing all those awesome shots. So I had to really like wrangle stuff together. So for the push-in shots, I had a tripod on like a dish towel sliding on the floor on like cat mat. So it was some guerrilla filmmaking there.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah, you just gotta make do with what you have.
Exactly.
I think all independent filmmakers and all filmmakers, I mean, really the process of filmmaking is problem solving. And I think anybody who's created films understands that you know, you have an idea, a concept, something you want to do, and you realize that you can't do it. So you've got to rethink that and problem solve and figure out how to do it. So, you know, you want a dolly shot? Well, find a skateboard, you know, like if you can't afford a dolly, there's ways around a lot of things. So that's great. I'm so glad that you mentioned that one little hack that you had. Are there others that you came up with?
Oh yeah, actually. So some of the shots, like you can see them sort of panning, some of the panning shots, that wasn't actually me panning with the camera. That was done in post-production with Adobe Premiere. So that's like the black bars on the top and the bottom, that sort of helped me because that gave me an extra like little bit of room if I wanted to automate shots up and down or side to side, then I could do that. And that could sort of imitate the camera panning up and down. Yeah. And if you're going to do that, little tip, also automate the speed, because once, like if you just automate it going up and down, it looks very obvious that it's just like, it's just you doing it on the computer. But if you add in like a slow ramp, then it looks like an actual person moving the camera.
Okay.
Very good. Very good. So Tay Sachs wants to know what kind of video your video submission for Ryerson, because that's part of the qualifications for Ryerson is you have to create a video. Mm-hmm. Did you do an experimental one also? Sort of.
I want to get more into like character studies and narrative films. So I sort of mixed my Ryerson film into like a slightly narrative, but still experimental film. Because experimental film, that's sort of my go-to, you know. I wanted to show them that was what I like doing. So if you want, I guess you can see that film on my Instagram. It's up there.
That's great. Yeah, you know what? We'll track that down and we'll share that on our Facebook or on our Instagram in the next.
And we'll be sharing your other films as well that you submitted to us. So people can tune in to see those.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about the highlight of the festival for you, the actual going to the festival and having your films in the festival. How was that?
That was super fun for me. I got to dress up for a night, you know, go on the red carpet. But really, I just liked seeing all the other films. That was definitely the highlight for me, watching all the other student films. They were all so unique and different. Yeah, some of them were so funny. I couldn't believe it. I can never do humor or anything in my stuff. So I love seeing all the different films and all the different, just voices that you get to, Yeah,
as people find their strengths, you know, you have your strengths, other people have their strengths. So I'm also really curious about more of the challenges. So you mentioned the challenges of narrative film for you. And I think that what you just said about you could never do comedy it's a really interesting thing. But that's the nice thing about filmmaking too, is it can push you to in so many different ways. And you can push your limits. Makes it really, really interesting. So I'm just seeing if we've got any other questions. I think we're getting close to the time where we have to wrap up. I want to make sure that nobody else wants to ask us anything out there. So if you've missed this chance with Queena, we'll do a watch party again tonight at 8:00 on Facebook. So maybe Queena can join us then. And if you didn't have a chance to ask her something, or it got overlooked in the comments, please come join us at 8:00, and maybe Queena will join us again too. And Queena, I really want to thank you so much for being here. We were so incredibly proud of your film and the work that you're doing and your talent, and that's what we're here to celebrate at the Forest City Youth Film Festival, is the talent of youth from Southwestern Ontario. So thank you so much for submitting, and thank you so much.
Yeah, we can't wait to see what you do next.
Yes.
You guys, thanks for having me.
Get busy.
Yeah.
Okay, stay healthy.
You too. Thanks for having me, guys.
Bye, Queena.
Bye.
Bye. So, as I was saying, we're going to be posting this event on our Instagram and doing a Facebook watch party tonight at 8:00. So like I said earlier, if you have any other questions, just please join us again. Tell your friends, because maybe your friends missed this and they might want to join up next week. We really just want to help people to create from high school. And so let as many people as you know, because you never know who wants to create something. One of the most commonly asked questions that we have is about how to submit films through Film Freeway, which is a very common submission platform for filmmakers. So once you get your video together, and you're ready to submit, we've got a walkthrough that's available on YouTube for how you work through, how you navigate Film Freeway. So the link to that is in the comments here. So by all means, check that video out, and I hope it's helpful for you. So Laura, any last thoughts?
Just that we are so impressed with the films that have been submitted already. So for this year, you have until June 25th, and the videos are already coming in, and it just blows us away that this is student work, and it's something that you should be proud of, and don't be intimidated if you feel like it's not ready. This is your first year, because we are here every week to give you feedback. You can reach out to us. We want to support you. And if we can't, we can get you in touch with somebody who can. So if you need any tips or guidance in making your film, please join our chats every Wednesday, or reach out to us via email or social media, and we will find a way to support you with what you need to get done. We're hoping to see you again, as Dorothy mentioned, at 8:00. And I think that's all I wanted to add. Am I missing anything, Dorothy, that we should make sure we share?
I want to make sure that everybody knows that next week we're going to be doing this again at 3:00 YouTube Live. So register. Next week, we're going to be here with local filmmaker Steve McLeod to talk about camera work and getting that perfect Hollywood shot with limited resources. Then on May 6th, we're going to be talking, we'll be reviewing the top 2 narrative films. So the filmmakers and the films will be here. And we're also going to be talking about audio and tips and tricks for getting films into film festivals. What makes your film festival ready? Then on May 13th, we're going to be talking all about documentaries. We'll be screening the top 2 documentaries from last year and talking with the judge of that category from last year. And then finally on May 20th, we're going to be talking about the pitch. And Laura had mentioned the pitch previously. That's a category. If you've got an idea that's just too big to make into a 5-minute film, then that's the opportunity to tell that story. And so we're going to be talking about that on May 20th. So there's lots happening. We really want to hear your feedback. If there's something that you really want us to talk about, please let us know. Put it in the comments here, come on the Facebook, message us, get in touch with, there's many, many ways to get in touch with us. So please reach out if there's something that you want us to talk about specifically. So I just really wanted to thank you guys for joining us today. We're just about to wrap up. And do us a favor here at this wonderful Southwestern Ontario Film Festival. Spread the word, pass this around. We want everybody in the region to know about us. Let your friends and acquaintances know, and we will see you right here at 3:00 next Wednesday. And before I go, I just want to thank the Ontario Trillium Fund for supporting this, along with the St. Thomas Community Foundation, Fanshawe College, Western Faculty of Information and Media Studies, and Western Arts and Humanities. So we will see you guys all here next week, hopefully, and bye for now.